HDSLR Shooter, your source for news from NAB 2014. Brought to you by Adobe, Animus, Blackmagic Design, and Carl Zeiss.
Hi, Clint with HDSLR Shooter. I'm here with LD of Sony. This is the A7. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, so this is the latest in our lineup of the A7 cameras. This is the show steal. I'm surprised that we actually get to talk right now. I've been so busy the whole day. So this is the third of our full-frame A7 cameras. The body style and the ergonomics are exactly the same as the other two. The other two we launched in September, started shipping in December, and the latest one is the A7S. And this is the one that we just announced here at NAB. And this is the S stands for sensitivity. So you can see that it still has the full-frame sensor, but it has 12.2 megapixels. So way fewer pixels, which means each individual pixel is much, much, much bigger. And essentially what that does is allows the camera to shoot in very low light situations without adding any additional lighting and still have extremely low noise. You know, it's very clean, crisp images, even in the worst lighting conditions. The second thing, it also allows the camera to shoot very high dynamic range. So even when you're shooting outdoors in bright situations, you don't lose highlight detail and you don't lose any shadow detail. So it really helps the camera on both ends of the spectrum.
What are the files that it produces?
So the A7S will produce 3 different video formats. MP4, which is obviously great for the web, anybody who wants to shoot and drag and drop to the web. AVC HD, which is kind of a Blu-ray type codec. You can go directly to Blu-ray disc or AVC HD disc. That'll shoot up to 60p, so 24, 30, 60, and 60p, up to 28 megabits per second. But then a new codec, which is called XAVC-S, which is a long GOP codec, and that one shoots 50 megabits per second. So this is essentially a broadcast quality camera, because broadcast quality is typically about 50 megabits per second. And that'll do also 24, 30, 60, and 60p. There's an option on this camera to crop down to 720 and get 120 frames a second. So for slow motion, 5 times slow motion.
So in regards to the 4K capabilities, you still get those 3 types of files that you can choose from?
No, so what happens is that in camera, it'll record those 3 different file formats to an SD card. If you want to shoot uncompressed HD or uncompressed 4K, you go through the HDMI out. So in order to get HDMI, you use an external recorder, some type of a hard drive recorder. Adamus, we're showing on our booth, has just launched the Shogun. That'll take an HDMI signal in. This will send a 422 8-bit signal, 4K signal at 30p to the external recorder. That can then in turn record it as ProRes or CineDNG.
What makes this sensor so special?
So this is a newly developed sensor. We have a new RGB color filter. It also has a gapless lens array on the sensor, which means every pixel has its lens that focuses light and concentrates more light onto that pixel. In addition to that, we've included an AR coating, an AR nano coating, which we use on some of our higher end sports lenses over that sensor, which reduces glare and flare. All in all, it makes the sensor a lot sharper, a lot clearer, and then obviously it enhances the low light and high dynamic range of the sensor.
Someone was telling me, and maybe I'm mistaken, that the level, the amount of pixels is lower than what most people would think of for a full frame sensor. Was that correct?
Well, we purposely made it lower, and you know, with the different cameras, the 7, the 7R, and the 7S really have different users. So the 7 is a pretty much all-round photographer, pro photographer. 7R, as I mentioned, is a high resolution. This one is really built for sensitivity. I can see photographers who don't need to use massive resolution. Maybe journalists, photojournalists may use this a lot because they don't have to go, you know, mega resolution. They just need, 12 megapixels is ample. What they really need to be able to do is focus and photograph with very low noise and high sensitivity in any single lighting conditions. And the same goes for video. You know, the higher the megapixels, the more the camera has to compress, because HD is 2.1 megapixels, 1920 times 1080. And when you have a look at 4K, that's approximately 8 megapixels. So compressing 36 megapixels down versus compressing 12 megapixels down is a lot less. One of the things that most DSLRs have issues with is what they call line skipping or pixel binning. In order to compress that down, you lose a lot of resolution and you get those jaggy edges in your video quality. And that's one of the downsides of a DSLR. Now, this pretty much eliminates that with 2 reasons. One is the lower resolution allows the camera not to compress down. It doesn't have to have an algorithm trying to figure out, out of this group of pixels, which color should I pick to make this single pixel. The second thing is it does what we call direct pixel readout. In other words, there's no line skipping on this. Every single pixel counts when it actually comes to capturing the video. So, there's many other benefits over this new sensor design than, simply just meets the eye. It's not just a lower resolution sensor. It's specifically built for low light sensitivity, high dynamic range in both still and video. Now, we have two lens lineup systems in our camera system, in the alpha mount system. So the alpha A-mount system has the mirror. That's like the A99 or A77. Those use translucent mirror technology, so the mirror doesn't move out the way, which means I can use my viewfinder and shoot video with constant autofocus. These are mirrorless, like you say. This is the E-mount system. Now, the beauty about the E-mount system is that it has a very low flange back distance. 18 millimeter flange back. That means from the flange to the focal plane of the sensor is 18 millimeters. That then in turn allows me to have smaller lenses on because of the geometry of the lens is further back. I can have smaller lenses with the same focal length. So this is a 35 millimeter lens, but as you can see, it's super compact and small, and it allows me to then have a real easy, ergonomical, very lightweight camera, which can then, pretty much outshoot just about any other large DSLR because of its features. The focus systems in these cameras have improved so much. That was one of the main reasons of having a mirror in a camera. One was to get the light path to your eye. The second one was to direct light onto a phase detection AF sensor. Like I said, on the A7, it has phase detection on silicon. It doesn't need a separate sensor. So it actually focuses just as fast as a normal DSLR, but without the mirror. So it makes it, they're much, much faster, more ergonomical, lightweight camera that can focus and shoot the same as what the bigger DSLRs are. So bigger doesn't necessarily mean better in terms of a body, but bigger certainly means better when you talk about a sensor. So still having a full frame sensor, but in a real small body.
Now, we were talking a little bit about the Zeiss lenses with the E-mount, and so this will work perfectly with those. Is that right?
Correct. So there's a wide variety of lenses that will fit this camera. Now, the E-mount system, we have a number of E-mount lenses that already go onto this camera. Because this is full frame, we started launching full frame E-mount lenses. We now have 5 in the lineup. So there's a 24-70 f4, there's a 35-28, a 55-18. We have a 70-200 f4 telezoom lens, which is this one behind us. And then we also have a kit lens that comes on the 7, which is a 28-75, which has got a variable aperture. In addition to that, the E-mount system allows you to put on any other lenses that you may have in your system. So for instance, here I have a Metabones adapter and a Canon 70-200, a 24-70 f2.8 lens, very popular lens in the Canon lineup, and this will clip right on. And because I'm using this Metabones smart adapter, it'll actually transmit the electronic controls from the camera and the lens. They'll talk to each other. So I have autofocus and aperture control of any of the Canon lenses that I put on here. In addition to that, I can then go to cinema lenses. This is a Carl Zeiss super heavy lens. This is a Carl Zeiss Cine lens. This is a 70-200 f2.9. They have a number of lenses in their cinema lineup. So for indie filmmakers, or actually this is a very professional filmmaking lens, that can clip directly on. And to take it even a step further, you can even get PL mount. So this is a PL mount from a lot of the professional lock cameras, and that'll clip on there and I can stick in my PL cameras. So really the E-mount system makes this camera super versatile, being able to put practically any single lens onto this camera. So even if you invested in a lens system, you really don't have to worry too much about switching to a camera like this.
So it has an SD card, is that right?
Correct. So the internal option for recording is SD card.
And the batteries are the same batteries I assume that the A7s are utilizing?
Correct. So this uses the W series battery. Now, because this is a real small body, small lightweight camera, it does use less power, but the battery is quite small as well. You do have an option to put on a vertical grip for 2 batteries, or you could run it off a USB power supply. So you could either charge the battery or power the camera through the USB power supply. We packed a lot of other features in here besides the additional codecs. We put in the Sony S-Log2 gamma controls. We had picture profiles. So if you're doing a multi-camera shoot, you could set up picture profiles, save those. You could also save that to a card and put them in other cameras in your shoot. It has time code. There's a guide frame on the LCD and the viewfinder, center markers, which a lot of people like to use when, obviously for safety zones. We also have, zebra functions, peaking functions, focus, magnification functions. So there's a lot of other functions built in here that are specifically for video users.
So talk about sound now. What about sound inputs and things like that?
All right. So the camera has stereo mic built into it. You can have full audio control of the microphone through the menu on the back. It also shows you audio levels. In addition to that, our MI shoe, which is a multi-interface shoe, is not just the standard ISO shoe for flashes or external strobes like pocket wizards, that type of thing that a still photographer would use, but there's an additional 20 pins in there. And what that does is allows us to connect one of our XLR boxes, and this is the same type of box that you'll find on the higher end cameras that we have. But we've got a separate one now with a separate cable, and this has a 20-pin adapter that would clip into the camera, giving you true balanced XLR audio that you can then control from the XLR audio box. So you can have external inputs going into the XLR, and it's not like a external box that goes into the mini jack. This is actually true balanced audio coming in. One of the other great features on this camera, most of the other ones will shoot AAC audio. If you're going to the external drive and you're getting a quality audio coming in, we can even output linear PCM audio, so really high quality audio to go with a high quality image.
When do we think this will be available?
So I don't have the pricing or the availability date. We expect it's going to be pretty soon.
So everybody wants to find out more, they want to keep abreast. What's the best way to do it?
So I would go to either sony.com or sony.net. That's a very good location to get a lot of information about the cameras. We'll have more information on sony.com pretty soon.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
HDSLR Shooter, your source for news from NAB 2014. Brought to you by Adobe, Animas, Blackmagic Design, and Carl Zeiss.